Greetings, YouTube. Today I would like to discuss an oxymoron, the toxicity of purity. I'll be reading two brief passages. The first from female purity is bullshit. Men can't actually care whether or not they are pure, because there is no way for purity to be verified. It's just not a real thing, and chasing some phantom virtue for your entire life is a great way of ensuring that you waste your goddamn life. This entire conversation is just an effort to rig a system in which men get to determine female worthlessness, no matter the input. There is nothing you can do to be pure. Our culture deliberately socializes women to be taken in. We condition girls explicitly, not even covertly, to believe that if they're not sexually attractive, they're nothing. They're garbage. They might as well not exist. We reinforce over and over that their attractiveness has expiration date, so that the only thing they can do is desperately leverage that attractiveness while they can. If they resist that conditioning, we sexualize them against their will, and if they give in to that conditioning, or worse, if they're ever raped by a predator, we reveal the trap. Now, you're a slut, and it's your fault. Now, you are tainted. The second is from Virginity Fetish, How Our Obsession with Sexual Purity Hurts Women, which is an excerpt from Jessica Valenti's book, The Purity Myth. There is a moral panic in America over young women's sexuality, and it's entirely misplaced. Girls going wild aren't damaging to a generation of women. The myth of sexual purity is. The lie of virginity, the idea that such a thing even exists, is ensuring that young women's perceptions of themselves is inextricable from their bodies, and that their ability to be moral actors is absolutely dependent on their sexuality. It's time to teach our daughters that their ability to be a good person depends on their being a good person, not on whether or not they're sexually active. A combination of forces, our media, and a society-driven virginity fetish, an increase in abstinence-only education, and the strategic political rollback of women's rights among the primary culprits has created a juggernaut of unrealistic sexual expectations for young women. And there's a huge list of links in here, folks. I recommend you can take a look at them. And the last of them, which is 4 myths about virginity. 1, it's an actual thing. Let's start with the biggest myth of all, that virginity is something quantifiable. Let's bust this myth once and for all, and you can trust me on this one. There is no medical or biological definition of virginity. Preach it. 2, but the hymen. Refer to number 1. 3, it has the power to change our genitals. Bull. 4, it changes who you are as a person. So does every other event you will ever experience in your entire bloody life. And the second comment is wonderfully cogent. It makes me very sad that this actually still has to be said in 2014. And you got that right. It is sad that these things have to be said in 2014. It was sad that these things had to be said in 1914. But the reality is that there is a segment of our society, the socially conservative, that want to drive forward the myth that virginity is a thing, and that how one is perceived in reflection of that matters more than anything else. That if you do not remain a virgin till X happens, that you are worthless. Now, funnily enough, men don't have that same quantifiable trait. In fact, even amongst the hardcore socially conservative Christians, men who fall should be forgiven by their virgin brides on their wedding nights, and they should carry on. Of course, who they're falling with is a bit of a mystery now, isn't it? That would mean that there's fallen women out there, isn't there? Do we slut-shame those? Or does it mean that they're falling with other men? Or that's even worse! Oh no! Yeah, it's all bull. From top to bottom, and no matter how far down you look, the bull just keeps getting thicker. No one gets to define your sexuality but you. If that means that you never have any sexual contact with another human being for the entire life, and you're happy with that, go for it. If it means that you wait until you're 14 before you decide to have sexual contact with another person, and it's consenting, and the other person is the same age-appropriate bracket, go for it. Be safe. Do what makes you feel happy. If it means you wait until you're 17, or you're 19, or you're 29, As long as you're safe, consenting, and everything is legal, go for it. And pretty much the only legal thing I could think of is consent laws. As far as I'm concerned, any two consenting people to do is really up to them. If you're going to go out there on the extreme end of things, use safe words. But we need to dissuade the entire culture that purity is a thing. And of course, this is reinforced by social conservatives, most of whom in the Western culture are from one of the main three Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, or Islam. These are the driving forces behind this horrible, horrible concept of purity in the Western culture. Other cultures have other driving forces, some religion-based and some cultural-based, which are just as toxic. But since I live in the Western culture, and most of the people who are viewing this are going to be living in or near the Western culture, because I'm speaking in English, it's very likely that they are going to be exposed to Western culture, which is why I reference those three particular religions in specific. And as I've said before, and I'm going to say again, social conservatives are always wrong. And yes, that is an absolute statement, and I am still waiting for someone to disprove it. I'm waiting for someone to tell me something that social conservatives are right about. Because I can guarantee you, if somebody gives me an example of that, that's going to show a bias that I'm probably not going to agree with. Because how you define purity for yourself is just that, yourself. Now, what happens if the first sexual contact you have with another person isn't voluntary? What does that mean? Does that mean that you're not pure from the get-go? That before you even have the chance to make the decision whether you want to consent to sex with another person that you find yourself attracted to, you're already impure from the get-go? That would suck now, wouldn't it? It'd be horrible to have that happen to you. It would. Take my word for it. Nobody should take that kind of thing from you. No one should decide for you whether or not you want to have sex. Nobody gets to touch you without your permission. Nobody. Not a boyfriend, not a girlfriend, not a husband, not a wife. Not a pastor, not a scoutmaster, not a coach. Not a music instructor, not a teacher. No one gets to touch you without your permission. And if they do it, guess what? They are the person that is defining the definition of impurity. Because they are breaching our cultural trust. They are breaching personal boundaries. They are violating the most fundamental concept of consent. They are showing the world that they are the definition of toxicity. So don't let anyone tell you that you are impure. If you think of yourself in a positive way, that's all that matters. As long as you're consenting, as long as the people you're with are consenting, as long as you're doing what you want to do, don't let anyone tell you that you're doing wrong. I don't care how fundamental your teachings have been. I don't care if you're 13 and listening to this. I don't care if you're 93 and listening to this. You define who you are. You define what your sexuality is. You define what is good and bad for you. And anyone that tells you different, you just move them out of the way. And you keep going forward the way that you want to live. That makes you happy. Nothing else at the end matters at all.